Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 30 of Smite Talk. My name is Octane Pro. Joining me this week is not FG3000. We have an even more a guy that is even more handsome than FG. We do have Blake. Blake, how's it going? Can you hear me, Blake? Blake. I don't hear Blake anymore. I don't hear him. Let's see. Do you hear? Oh, there you go.
I hear you, man. I didn't hear you for a second. It just cut out. So.
That's all right. So how's it going, man? Welcome to Smite Talk.
It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, those of you guys not familiar, Blake is one of the esports admins that you will see around the scene. If you're a competitive player, you know his name as he's very much associated with a lot of the tournaments that are going on. You more recently just got back. You were at the NA tournament doing the admin work there, correct?
Yeah, I've been working with Hi-Rez for a little under 2 years now, doing their esports scene. So I've been to the launch tournament, the recent NA tournament. It's quite a bit of fun.
That's exciting. That's exciting. FG3000 is away. He's not available this week or next. So this week, Blake's just filling in kind of last minute. I sent a message to FG. Completely forgot he was going to be away. I was like, hey, y'all good for tonight? And he's like, I'm away for the next 2 weeks. I'm like, oh. So Blake volunteered to jump on and help me out. So I do appreciate that very, very much. And those of you guys not familiar with what Smite Talk is very much like a open mic radio type of show where you as the viewers can go ahead and call in and give your opinion on different topics. So you can, between your calls, we'll go ahead and we have some topics to talk about, and we'll talk about them, just discuss them back and forth, but it's very much like open radio. So you can go ahead and call in using Raid Call. The information is directly below my video screen here. It says call in right now using Raid Call, and it gives you a group ID. Just call in, make sure your audio is set up. It is audio calls. So don't join Raid Call and then go, I don't want to talk. I just want to put my message right here. It's like, that's not how it works. So feel free to use Raid Call. We have someone hanging out in the lounge right now. And as you jump in there, I'll just double check with you to make sure all your audio settings are set up correctly. Usually we have Buddha available to go ahead and adjust and talk with each of the callers to make sure that they're all set up and good to go. But Buddha, unfortunately, had to go to bed. He was exhausted. I think he stayed up a little too late playing Smite. So I'm going to try the best I can to field as many calls as possible. Before we get started, a reminder, guys, that Smite Talk is available on audio only as well. That's what's kind of up here in the middle. Available on iTunes, the audio only version. So please go ahead and check that out download it. Smite Talk, just look it up. It's on iTunes. It's also available on the Android platform as well as audio only. So if you're at the gym or on the way to work, you need something to listen to, Smite Talk is available to fill that gap for you. So let's go ahead. I want to go ahead. We're going to kind of go over some emails here that we got. And so let me go ahead and load those up in the meantime. And while we go ahead and do that, Blake, I guess just kind of for people that are not familiar with you, when did you come into the Smite scene? Kind of where can people check you out, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I've been around the Smite scene since 2012, I don't know, really early.
Okay.
Back in the My Revenge days when the tournaments, the very, very first Smite tournaments ever started happening, I kind of got into the scene. But I stream on my own personal channel 5-6 days a week, 7 p.m. to 10 or 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, twitch.tv/mblakew. I have a Twitter, twitter.com/mblakew, as well as YouTube, youtube.com/mblakew.
Okay.
Gotta get all those shameless
That's right.
plugs in.
Get them all in there now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, My Revenge, that's going back a little bit. I actually forgot that I did some casting work for them early on as well with My Revenge. So, yeah, that was quite some time ago, actually, now that I think of it. That was like before Hi-Rez really started doing, they did their weekend tournaments, but outside of that, it was just like My Revenge and I think it was Curse was all that was really around then with the My Revenge stuff. Didn't you move over and do some stuff with Curse for a little bit too? Or am I mistaken there?
Yeah, so I ended up leaving My Revenge for whatever reasons after working with them for a while, and then I moved over and was on Curse Gaming for a little while until Hi-Rez said, "Hey, we're gonna bring everything in house. Do you want to
Yeah.
come hang out and do this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's do this."
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's been a great relationship ever since. So.
That's good. That's good. So, guys, we're going to go ahead while we wait for people to get into Raid Call. We're going to go ahead and talk about some emails. And so, if you guys would like to email, it's smitetalk@gmail.com. I'll go ahead and put it in here. And myself and FG3000 usually, take your emails every week, kind of read them off and then discuss them. So the first email here comes from Crown, and it says, "Do you think Hi-Rez should bring back the practice joust mode you were able to play with all gods, even the locked ones? I believe new players would be more interested and motivated." So Blake's shaking his head yes. What are your thoughts on that?
I personally loved 1v1 Joust casual queue. I'm a real big fan of Joust, and I mean that's where you would go and try out all these silly builds and learn new gods, and you didn't have to do it in versus Robot. As amazing as
Yeah,
Robot is,
gosh.
like you could
He's
you
too
could
good.
step up
He's
to
too
the next
good.
level and actually fight a real person. So I'm a huge fan of the Joust map coming back, and I really hope it happens. 10 out of 10 would Joust again.
Yeah, I don't know if it came down to population numbers as to why it was removed and ranked was kind of the only thing set into place. I can see the value of it for sure, if not something equivalent to it. Now when I see people want like people that are playing one versus one, I mean they're like really big into it, like very competitive about one versus one. But I don't see that casual side where So I can see that. I can see that's a really good request there actually from that email. Someone else goes ahead and sends in an email here. Alvaro says, "I'm sorry my English is bad, but what I wanted to ask you is, do you think that the 3 versus 3 map needs adjustments and work as far as objectives to make the mode more dynamic? And also, do you think 3 versus 3 is a potential game mode for ranked?" So, throw it over to you, Blake. What do you think? This kind of goes side by side with 1 versus 1 a little bit, but what do you think of the 3 versus 3 map?
Um, so I play a ton of Joust, and the map needs something. I don't specifically know what it needs. I've seen some really interesting suggestions of removing buff camps,
Yeah.
which I'm kind of bittersweet on. I don't know if they should be there. I don't know if they shouldn't. Having like a mini Fire Giant or a mini Gold Fury. The meta in 3v3 Joust right now is, yeah, it's kind of stale. You get ahead, and then the other person just sits back and waits to counter engage while like they sit under the Phoenix wait for you to counter engage, and if they manage to deicide you there, then they go push a tower, and then it
Yeah.
becomes both teams kind of turtling. Like you're really, I don't know, it's an advantage for turtling and Joust a lot of the times if you're not on a team where you can tower dive safely. So yeah, there definitely needs to be something done with the map, but I personally don't know what it is, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, 3 versus 3, yeah, I don't mind the map to a degree. Kind of one of the things that bothers me is where you can go ahead and stand behind the wall right behind Phoenix and damage the Titan without it aggroing. I think that's kind of weird. I don't know if that is a mechanic that is on purpose. To me, it doesn't seem like it would make sense at all. Outside of that, looking at the rest of the map with the buffs and stuff like that, I feel like the death timer as well is kind of odd, to be honest with you, because I feel like on that map, on 3 versus 3 map, you know, I feel like as you start to approach late game, if you wipe, your whole team wipes, it's pretty much game over. Like, even if there's still a tower up, so it's like tower, Phoenix, Titan, done so quickly. Because, if you look at like the conquest map, you have multiple lanes. So if your team wipes, they have to go clear one of the towers in one lane, one of the towers in another lane. Oh, there's objectives available that can be done. Gold Fury and Fire Giant. It's not like instant GG because of it. So in my opinion, I feel like maybe the death timer needs to be adjusted a little bit, and as well there needs to be some adjustments made within the map as well. I've seen some suggestions, kind of what like Blake was talking about, like buff adjustments, buff changes, buff removals, even objectives added to the 3 versus 3 map to see if that improves anything. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of I'd be eager to see the population numbers for 3 versus 3 to see if 3 versus 3 is played as much as what people complain about needing the changes for. Do you agree, Blake?
I mean, I would say it's probably the third most played. I think
Okay.
Arena is the most played.
Mm-hmm.
Hi-Rez taught in an interview, I think he said recently that Arena is by far the most popular game mode in Smite,
Mm-hmm.
with Conquest being a very close second, and then I'm pretty sure 3v3 over Assault or any match of the day. Um, I think it's funny that you mentioned the mechanic of hitting the Titan
Mm-hmm.
outside of the range without aggroing it.
Uh,
Everybody should go get an Anubis to max level and ult the Titan. Its health actually can't go down as fast as it takes damage, and you can 100 to, I think it's like 1% a Titan from outside the wall with an
that's
Anubis ult.
that's ridiculous. I didn't realize that at all. You
It's
laugh
pretty
about it because you've
broken.
seen it multiple times. So I think it's so funny.
Yeah, in that regard, it does have the mechanic just like the Conquest Titan, where if you leash it wrong, then it gets its health back. But if you can, outside of that range, you can like Vulcan ult, Ao Kuang, anything that goes over the wall, and it won't leash at all. It'll just take straight up damage. Yeah, that'd be nice to have that fixed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It cuts some like cheesy strats or cheesy endings.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can agree there for sure. Taking
But I
a
definitely think it's a game mode that should get some care to it if it is that popular. Like I'd like to see some numbers as well, but I think it's probably sitting around third, the most played.
Okay, good to know there. So another email here comes from Robert. Says, let's see. I'm currently looking for shoutcasters for my 2 vs 2 tournament. Where can I go about finding, open agents? I guess he says there isn't really like the my knowledge, like at this point in the scene, there isn't really a available spot where it's like, hey, here's a list of shoutcasters and like their skill level and their availability and pricing if you're looking to pay them and stuff like that. I don't think we're at that point yet. I think a lot of stuff is just like word of mouth, like recommendations from people or known commentators. I mean, don't, I really can only name off like maybe on like two hands, maybe like 10 commentators that I'm aware of within the scene that are developed enough. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like a list floating around
Yeah.
or anything like that. In word of mouth, Twitter, Reddit,
Hmm.
like streams. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that would probably do it for free or for paid. Just kind of got to ask around.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, like tournament organizers that are putting that stuff together, is don't settle. To me, honestly, don't settle for the first person that raises their hand. That's like you posted on Twitter, and the first guy jumps on it, and he's like, "Hey, I'll do it for you." Like that's your product. Like your tournament quality. The commentators make up the tournament. Like if your commentators aren't any good, and you still have really good people playing, it can really make or break your viewership. So my recommendation for someone like this who's emailing in asking about it is, don't settle for the first guy that messages you and says, I casted a tournament once, or I don't have any casting experience, but I'd love to do it. Like, don't settle, aim for high and see how things work out for you. Um, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that perspective, Blake? I mean, maybe I'm holding it a little too high, but my thought would be, quality over quantity at this point.
Uh, I mean, I don't have a huge like quality over quantity. True, that's nice, but also, we're still a diverse enough with community tournaments and one-off tournaments that, people might want to cast where they can kind of dip their foot or get some more experience into
Yeah.
it, rather than just contracting the people that are, always on Smite Game or Smite Pro or whatever.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You
I
know,
can
there
see
there
that.
might be that like hidden gem caster, like maybe Wolfie is a really really good
That's
caster, and he'd
right.
be really funny and attract a ton of people, but nobody's ever given him the chance to shine as a caster.
I I don't see Wolfie doing that, but it would be quite entertaining though. Yeah, that'd be quite entertaining. Look at this moron over here building this build. What is he thinking? I can see Wolfie being
I'd
quite
watch it.
entertaining. I know, me too. I'd be like, I'm all over it. But I think it's just because it'd be Wolfie.
Yeah, cook some
Let,
popcorn,
that's
sit back.
yeah, right. Yeah, right. Completely. Be like, oh, okay. So let's go ahead here. And one of the before we take our first caller here, which is going to be Dusk in raid call, we'll kind of talk a little bit about we kind of like to do like a god a week and just kind of talk about where the god has been, how far the god has come, our thoughts on the god's progression. So I put a note there, Blake, for you to pick a god. So go ahead and pick a god. I'll let you know if we've talked about them yet or not. Just a god that you'd like to talk about, the history of the god, the gameplay, the balance, stuff like that, our personal opinions on it. So go for it.
Uh, I think I want to talk about Hebo. Why
Okay.
not?
We haven't talked about him yet. So I guess in your opinion, where's Hebo at right now? Where was he? Where is he at now? What are your thoughts on Hebo across the board?
I don't think he's ever been a top tier pick, as far as I can tell. You go a lot of weeks, granted, my looking and experience really only, like, I only look at the scene that I work in a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really happy to see Jerby play him on Snipe at LAN because it's not something you do see a lot. Like, I guess you see him in solo lane sometimes. There was a stint where Jungle Hebo was kind of popular, and yet when you see people play him or you get just your face melted by Hebo, you kind of cry nerf because his ratios are super high.
Yeah.
So I think he's in a really weird spot of kind of competitively viable niche comp water gun to the face.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at Habwa or Hebo, however you want to say it, when he first came out, he was very much that glass cannon where his damage was potent, but the thing is, not everybody could play him because you couldn't really overcommit because of the fact of I mean, he's that glass cannon and he could very easily be shut down. I think as time has gone on though, and we haven't really seen like. I feel like when I look at Habwa, I don't see a lot of like nerfs over the past like year plus that Habwa's been out. Like when I look at it, I'm not like wow, like I'm not like wow. I mean, I'm not looking at numbers, but just off the top of my head, I'm thinking there hasn't really been that many patches where we've seen Habwa get adjustments. Like we didn't have like for example like Hell. Hell had like 5 or 6 patches back to back to back to back where like Hi-Rez was trying to figure out her damage versus her heals versus her protections and stuff like that. Habwa, has been around for quite some time, and he hasn't had any crazy reworks except for maybe his models, specifically. But he's definitely come a long way, and I think now he's not at this point where he's at now. He's not really an auto ban. But he's also really potent, and I think at a competitive level, we see Habwa do very well. He's very good in like solo laning, depending on the counters that are approached with him. I feel like though his shift with the meta shifting from a traditional 2-1-2 to now being a 1-1-2. I feel like he used to naturally sit in mid, and now we see Habwa in solo lane more. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, in solo lane to me is a lot like mid lane in that, you're kind of left alone to farm
Yep.
and battle it out with just, one other person and some gank pressure. And I forget who I was talking to at the LAN, but they said that, oh, Hebo is actually really easy to counter once you realize you have one strategy when facing Hebo. You, you have about an 8-second window if he misses his 3 to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't miss his 3,
Till
you're
his
dead.
cooldown's back.
Yeah, it's like you have 8 seconds to engage a Hebo. If not, you're dead. Like if you either commit or you die. And I mean, with solo laners, I mean, generally you see like what Zhang Kui, Chang'e, those guys have really good sustain against a Hebo. Like solo lane's kind of about the sustain game, but I mean, you see Hebos building Warlock Sash. They get a couple of items. They get a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more tanky. But I still think that like once it comes to team fights, like Blink Hebo is what nightmares are made of. Like Blink tidal waves on an unsuspecting team. Like he
Oh.
can rip through the back line. Like even if you go Hebo and just kind of use him as a scapegoat, like a sacrificial lamb to do a ton of damage and
Mm-hmm.
then, kind of die, I think it's still worth. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
He's probably more of a niche pick than anything right now. I'm a huge fan of Hebo and I don't know. Aegis kind of shuts him down. You know, I don't know. He's just in an interesting place, and I think it's most interesting because you do see a lot of people cry nerf because people that do really well with Hebo make you feel bad, but
Yeah,
time and time again we see nothing in the patch notes other than I think his most recent nerf was 2% off of his passive,
yeah, that
if
sounds
I'm not
correct. It sounds like
mistaken,
it's bad.
or
I think
was it
that I
like
think that's correct.
5% to 3% back when?
Nothing
Other
crazy
than
though.
that,
Yeah.
like his water scroll got an upgrade
Oh,
and
that's
visual
right.
effects, and
Yeah.
that's it. Like,
Woo! Yeah, I
it's
think
either
he's at a
they
good spot
don't
with
know what
balance
to
too,
do with
though.
Ebo, or he's just in a good spot. Oddly enough.
Yeah, I think he's quite balanced though. Like when I look at like Hobwa right now, I'm not like, wow, like he's overpowered or oh, he's underpowered and that's why nobody takes him. I think he's in a really good spot to be honest with you. I don't see a lot of changes coming to him unless like a certain item comes out that allows him to be much better and succeed much more. So, good point there for sure. So let's go ahead. Any last comments on Hobwa before we go ahead and take a first caller here? Anything from you, Blake?
Sorry,
No.
you cut out. What?
Oh, it's
Can you say
okay.
that one more time?
I didn't realize you were having cutout issues. Just wanted to make sure that any last comments on Habwa?
Uh, no, not really. I mean, I kind of agree. I think he's a good competitive pick, kind of niche right now, high risk, high reward, can be countered, especially at that high level of play, and I think that's why you don't see him picked like a ton.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So let's go ahead. We'll take our first caller here, Dusk. Once again, guys, if you guys do want to go ahead and call in, please go ahead and download Raid Call and use the group ID, which is kind of like your channel listed below, 7461039. And go ahead and call in. I'll send you an IM message in Raid Call just to make sure your audio is set up, and we'll get you in. So let's go ahead and we bring in Dusk. Dusk, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going, man?
Hey, thanks for having me.
So what do you want to talk about tonight?
I want to talk a bit about items this week. But first up, I want to mention something quickly. I find it really weird that Odin's passive, like half the text, mentions the fact that he has an attack string. Why is that there?
That he has an attack what?
Attack string, attack hit progression.
So you're wondering why that's actually in the notes for Odin?
Yeah, because like half of the gods have that. It's like he has some kind of privilege that's there.
Yeah, when there isn't really any difference there. I can understand that. I guess he has a good point. So I guess you're kind of questioning it, like, why is it there? It's nothing too
Yeah.
crazy. No, I think that's a good point. Blake, do you know of any reason why that would stand out for Odin at all? I think Blake's having audio issues. Oh, am I cutting out?
Having a few cutout issues,
Oh,
yeah.
I was wondering.
But no, I heard it does. I have no idea. Like I just actually looked up the Odin stuff on Smite Wiki, and I'm just sitting here going, huh.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, I
really
have
sure
no
why that
idea.
is. I think that's a good point. I don't know if that's an oversight. I'm like diving into Odin like right now to be like, okay, where is the strength part to it? So I'm not sure. I think it's a good point for you bringing it up though. What other
I think it's
what
a
other
bit
question
misleading.
what other question you got?
So I wanted to talk a bit about items, some that are in the game and some that could be added.
Okay, I
First
like it.
off, there's a lot of items which are situational, and I like that. You can get them in specific situations, some extremely situational, some slightly situational. But there's one item I really don't understand why it's in the game because I see no purpose for it. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know who thought out about this, but anyway. Shield of Regrowth.
Okay.
It
I
gives
remember when that was overpowered. Ugh.
physical power, magical protection, HP, and its passive is really interesting. When hit by an ability, your HP 5 is increased by 100% per 5 seconds, once every 20 seconds. So, assuming you're Neja with max stacks, this item, and maybe even Stone of Gaia, so you basically get a heal of about 70 HP for after 5 seconds, once every 20
Correct.
seconds.
Mm-hmm.
How is this useful? Why would anyone pick this up?
There's certain items out there that kind of had their popularity and use at a certain moment and then have kind of phased out as time has kind of gone on. Uh, I think it's hard for Hi-Rez to be able to try and to balance all the items to be super important and be items that are popular at that moment as kind of meta shifts kind of rotate and change a lot. I don't know. I mean, Blake, what are your thoughts on that item right now?
I'd never build it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, not all items in the game are going to see a ton of use. Maybe there's something secretly OP about it, but I kind of agree that like you know, you're just gonna get burst down at that. Like 60 magic protection is nice, I guess. Along, like you said, building it with Stone of Gaia, so that's quite a good chunk of magic protection. But you're also giving up 2 item slots where you could potentially have something better in its place. So I don't know. I don't see a big use for it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. Now, what were the items that you were talking about that you'd like to see in the game?
Another item which is in the game, which I think is underrated, is Runic Shield, which is like right next to it, which is like a better version of the Shield of Regrowth. And there's a few things which I don't understand about this item, and maybe you can clear them up for the chat.
Sure.
It says when hit by an ability, your magical protection increases. Is this physical ability as well as magical? Can this be triggered by physical?
I think it's both, my understanding. I don't have the... I'm actually not logged into the game, so I can't look it up right here. But that would just be one more thing to add to my computer running right now. But outside of that, I think it's both, if I'm not mistaken. Blake, do you understand? Do you know if it's both? Because it just says hit by an ability.
I don't know. I mean, hit by an ability would lead me to assume that, you know, you could be hit by a physical ability or a magic ability
Or
to get
your auto
procs.
attack, whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's my thought.
I've never paid enough attention to actually notice, like, if I'm using a magic ability. I know for certain, like, magic abilities will proc it. I can confirm that.
Dusk, why do you gotta
Yeah,
read?
that
Why you gotta
sounds-
read between the lines on everything? Jeez, gosh,
Sorry.
you're that
I
guy.
don't
He has a good point, though. One of my friends consistently complains about some vagueness in the terms of items and passives, like, you know, specifically an ability. When it, you know, did something that you just have to sit there and test and remember. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't say a physical or magical ability where it could just clear that up real quick. So I do think that, you know, some changes on the back end to passives and item descriptions couldn't hurt in the long run.
That's not a...
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I know like I play Hearthstone as well, and in Hearthstone they like to leave some of that up to interpretation and experience, which is interesting. I don't know if Hi-Rez is looking to go that route as well, but I kind of like the route of give as much detail as you can so that there isn't anything in question. So I can agree with you, Blake. It would kind of be nice to be able to have, you know, that type of detail is important. It could say any damage or, you know, any ability or anything like that compared to kind of the way it's worded. So I can see that. It's a good point there. Good point. Good thing to point out.
It's not only about the description. I think it's detrimental that if it procs from physical, it kind of takes away from the item. Because
Yeah.
you wouldn't want it to be proc from physical. If
No.
like a mage comes after 10 seconds and you don't have the protection anymore.
That is true. That is true. So what else you got?
Spirit Robe. Does anybody even know this item?
No.
It's from the cloak section. There's
Yeah.
3 cloaks. The Hide, Magi's, and the one that no one ever built.
Wait,
Spirit Robe.
there's three? I've never heard of such. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yes. Yes. That's yeah. I don't see that used a lot at all. I don't know about you, Blake, but I don't see myself picking it up. It's usually like Magi's Blessing or Hide of Urchin. That's in that same tier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Blake?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hide of Urchin or Magi's, just to kind of depending on the situation.
But not really using that third item, huh?
Yeah, no, not really.
Those are yeah. I mean, those are the type of items where like I
I
love
think
to
I
see.
picked it up once recently just to be like, let's see what this
Let's
does.
see
You know,
what
just
this
kind of
does.
experimenting around, see like, is this good? No, okay, I'll just build what I know works.
Yeah, I
I'd like
mean,
to ex-
I was
I'd
gonna
like to
say
explain
I
why
would
I
love
think it's
go for it.
underrated.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's okay.
I wouldn't compare it to the Hide of the Urgent or Magi's Blessing, which are 2 really nice items. What I would compare it to is Bulwark of Hope, which a lot of people build.
That's
So
true.
basically, you have around the same magical protection, you have less health, but I like the passive from Spirit Robe a lot more. Although technically you won't get hit by a lot of hard CC to actually proc it, but 15% damage mitigation for 3 seconds, once every 10 seconds, is a lot. And the thing about Bulwark, it only lasts 1 second, so there's a huge chance that thing procs off and nothing's gonna hit you for a second, making it useless.
Yeah, I mean, I think
And another thing
go for
is
it.
the 10% cooldown reduction. There's very few items, especially for magical users like Guardians, to get cooldown reduction outside of boots. I mean, less than 25%. You have the armor for 25 and Chronos Pendant, which you're not going to pick up on a Guardian. And there's very few places to get 10%. There's like Mail of Renewal, which is like an assault item for me, and Winged Blade, which is utility for definitely not Guardians.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can agree with you. I mean, I think some of the items need, I think it would be good to be looking, I know Hi-Rez is always looking at stats, and they're the ones that are sitting behind the stat pages looking at the more popular items. And, I don't think Hi-Rez wants there to be cookie cutter builds for any gods or, more popular items than others, which of course at this point there are. But I feel like there's a lot of those like items that are overlooked that are no longer very used very often anymore that no one really grabs, no one really picks up. Like I love to see stats on something like the Spirit Robe to see is this item ever used, and like if it's barely ever picked up, it should be removed from the game. We don't just need a pile of extra items, or there should be some adjustments made to it to make it more popular, more viable, and more attractive. I'd hate to have all these extra items in there just to say that our game has 50 plus items or 100 plus items. What are your thoughts there, Blake? Oh, Blake's typing to me. Trying to figure out what's causing. Oh, okay.
I mean, I guess yeah, you don't need the item store cluttered up with a bunch of useless items, but at the same time, like I don't know. I mean, with meta shifting in and out, god changes, new gods being introduced, like some items come back into favor.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think a lot of people used to build, and I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation, but Pythagorean's piece.
Pythagoras piece. Okay.
Pythagorean's piece, yeah. Like I feel like when I first started playing Smite, or like not long after playing it, I used to saw that item picked up quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's once in a blue moon. Like maybe if you have 3 mages on your team, somebody picks it up just to help out. I guess it's a real big like utility item, I guess. But I don't know. Like I've even seen once recently, like a guardian pick it up as the last item because they were ahead, so they wanted that little bit of extra magic damage to come through for everybody. So I would rather see a lot of new items and a lot of build variation, and I think that'll kind of come with time. But I'd say keep the old items in there until they're absolutely useless through data, because the meta could change, new gods could come out.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Dusk, you got anything else to talk about?
Uh, about items that could be in the game, do you think that it's needed, or there's a place for an item which is more magical power and magical protection oriented, like a defensive magical item which also has magical power? Because from right now we have, I think, Void Stone, which requires you to be pretty close to your enemies,
Mm-hmm.
and Telekinesis Ring, which is very situational and doesn't really work.
Well, I think once you start
almost
to
in
add
favor.
in once you start to add in items that have a lot of protections on them, but also a lot of magical damage on them, like you don't want your guardians doing it, that much damage. That's not their role, is to be, super tanky, but then able to deal out the damage. So I think you have to be careful with that. I mean, I think Voidstone's in a good spot right now. It forces the Guardian to commit into it, commit into these battles with some risk involved, but also gives them the protections necessary. So for me, I'd rather have less items that are, allowing a god to be able to take the damage, but then also deal out a ton of it. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Blake?
As somebody who mains mages, I would love to see an item that gives me magic power and magical
No.
defense that isn't Voidstone. But realistically, you would have to be really careful about introducing an item like that it didn't become an absolute staple in every mage's build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Uh,
right. You don't need
the
mages to
thing
be
is,
have high survivability because of items.
what I want is something like situational, like something that has a lot more protection than power, obviously. I don't want something overpowered, but I want something that I can have, for example, on the mage if they have way too much magical damage. And I
Mm.
don't want to put something like Bulwark of Hope on a mage.
Mm-hmm. No, and I can understand that. I can see where you're coming from with that, where that item is not geared towards a mage in that situation, and that is more of your guardian-based item for sure. I can kind of see where you're going. I guess kind of reiterate what Blake said. You kind of have to be careful, to be honest with you. But all right, Dusk. Well, thanks for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. So we're gonna go ahead. We'll take another email, and then we'll bring in another caller here. Let me go ahead and bring up those emails here. And this is always a common one, but we'll definitely go over it. Do you believe that domination should be brought back? It's been a game mode that I have found lots of fun. I don't think it should only be played as a match of the day. Thoughts on domination, Blake?
Well, it's still in the game. You can create custom matches and just have people join. I don't know. I'm not too heartbroken about it being gone. I really didn't care for it. Like every time I went into Domination, it was an arena with less teamwork. Like it wasn't meant to be that, but it just seemed like every time I got into a party, it was somebody's first time playing,
Yeah.
and they had no idea what was going on. So I personally don't weep for seeing it gone, especially because you can just create a custom game domination or match of the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if they bring it back. Yay. If they
I mean,
don't,
my understanding,
like I don't
yeah,
care.
my understanding with domination was, I mean, from what I understand from Hi-Rez, was it came down to population numbers. Like, just people weren't really playing it, and I don't know if that was because people didn't understand the mechanics of the game mode, or if it just wasn't attractive to anybody, so people weren't playing it. So, um, everything comes down to population numbers with Hi-Rez. Like we've heard Hi-Rez Chris say that multiple times about different things with matchmaking, with game modes specifically on ranked, what validates it, and they have the numbers, and I think that's an important thing to look at. So you know if there was strong demand for domination, Hi-Rez would probably bring it back, but at the same time, like, they're not just going to bring it back if we have a couple hundred people requesting it because they're the only couple hundred people that played it. So I think that's something to, we have to give faith to in Hi-Res to believe that, they're making the smart business decisions and they're the ones that see the numbers. Unfortunately, we don't. If they came out and said 0.5% of the player base played domination daily, everyone would be like, I think more people would be like, okay, I understand. I don't want it back. But we don't really have those numbers at this point. I don't know. It could be 5, it could be 10. I don't know what it was at that time. I really couldn't tell you.
Who
So
knows?
I know,
Just bring
right?
back 1v1 joust, please.
And then you go
I don't
and then you
always
go
want to
ahead
play
and say
ranked.
that. And then you go say that. Jeez. All right, let's go ahead and bring in we'll bring in Persian here in a minute. Once again, guys, if you guys would like to shoot an email, smitetalk@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email. We'll get read on the show. If not, the audio version is available by calling into Raid Call. Go ahead, download Raid Call, type in the search window in the upper left-hand corner, 746-1039. That'll get you connected, and I'll shoot you a message to make sure that your audio is good to go. So if you are in the lobby, make sure you check your IMs inside a Raid Call. I'll check with you to make sure audio is set up before we go ahead and bring you onto the live show here. So let's go ahead and bring in Persian. Persian, Medic, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
We're doing good. So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I wanted to talk about like skins in the game and how
Okay,
they get
perfect.
chosen or made, and if they could probably add something like the Steam Workshop where community members can make skins.
I will throw it to Blake first. I have some opinions about this, but Blake, all you.
Um, I would love to see a community workshop. I think that'd be really cool, and considering Smite runs off of Unreal, I think a lot of people are really talented in Unreal Engine, and you could see some really great community creations made off of it. How they get chosen, I mean, a lot of skins are just developed in-house. I know that a lot of the people do read Reddit and all of that for
Telephone,
conversation. Yeah,
telephone.
telephone. Do read Reddit to get a lot of ideas, or there was the Feaster Bunny skin was completely community made.
Yeah.
I like
So, I mean, Reddit, Twitter, official forums, they look in all places for feedback and ideas. But yeah, totally, I would love to see like some Unreal Engine thing implemented where people could do community workshop. But I also think that you'd get a lot of people being like, "This is just like Dota 2. How dare you? You're stealing ideas."
I
Because
mean,
like,
I think I can agree with you. I think it's a wonderful idea. It allow at this point right now the community has quite an influence on the game and skins and stuff like that, but it's very limited. Like, hey, here's a great idea posted on Reddit. There's a lot of traction behind it. Hi-Rez will be, Hi-Rez looks to these for creative insight and ideas, and then they'll go ahead and design it, and it's in their vision, the design, and they go ahead and put it out there. I think it's a great idea. As if you were to do a workshop, Hi-Rez would be able to provide the models, so then people could go ahead and, the 3D models, so then people can come up with some creative skins. I think if that was the case, I feel like Hi-Rez still needs to have enough input where like you would create a skin and then it would be submitted to Hi-Rez, and then Hi-Rez would approve it to be on like their store, for example. And then once it's on the store, I feel like a percentage of the profits made from it would have to go back to the designer, if they were to do something like that. I think that could be done with skins. I feel like that could be done with icons in game, ward skins. I mean, I feel like the opportunities are endless. But I don't know if Hi-Rez wants to go in that direction with their free-to-play, option available. Do you see any problems with it? Like when Hi-Rez looks at that, do you see them going, I don't want to do any profit sharing there, like they want to directly produce it? Or do you think Hi-Rez is standing behind it saying they want to control the quality of the product and they want to, I mean, now granted they get to review the skin, but I don't know. What do you think, Blake? I mean, I'd love to hear like a Hi-Rez opinion on this at some point, to be like, we've thought about it and no.
I don't think quality control would be an issue because it wouldn't, it's not going to be automatically put in the game without their final touches and reviews. I mean, profit sharing could be one reason not to do it. But at the same time, you make money off something that originally wasn't there. Any money is good money.
Yeah.
Didn't cost you much because you didn't make it. You're just using their tools that they provided in their platform. I don't know. I mean, I'm not super familiar with the Dota 2 community. Like, can
Neither am
people
I.
make a living off making item skins and, their champion skins in Dota 2?
I don't
Or
know.
is it just like beer money?
Persian, do you know at all?
I'm pretty new to the Smite community,
Okay.
so I just usually play Counter-Strike, but I'm starting
That a
to get
boy.
into MOBAs. Meth.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, coming from Counter Strike, I can see where you're coming from, on and just the way that like that operates with the store and skins and stuff like that, and packages or whatever they call them, lock boxes, I guess, or whatever. I think that's a really good idea. I love to
Yeah, meth.
see I love to see some Hi-Rez feedback on it. If it's something that, hey, we plan to do this in the future, or this isn't a route we're looking to go. I'd be interested to see if it's a tweet from someone at Hi-Rez or a message just to say, because I think that'd be interesting. What other questions do you have or topics you want to talk about today?
Like, oh, actually, this is like a personal, but has to do with the game.
Great.
So, me and my cousin used to like use Shadow Play a long time ago when it first came out for NVIDIA. You know what that is?
I do not, but maybe you can. Do you know what it is, Blake?
Wait, what was the question? Sorry.
What Shadow Play by NVIDIA?
Meth. Yeah. Shadow.
I'm not
it's
sure.
like a
I don't know what it is.
recording.
Why don't you tell us?
So basically, in GeForce
Oh, is it
Experience.
the streaming
Yeah.
platform from NVIDIA graphics cards?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's like that. I don't know if that's the problem, but while I was playing Smite, or me and my cousin, we were running the same thing, and after we got banned from Smite, so I don't know if it like we emailed, like nothing happened about it. So, and it's been like a couple months, and we have like the level 30 and the Gods pack and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I don't know
Yeah.
if they're still banning for the third-party stuff.
I
because
mean,
they
I think
never,
that's super
told
important.
us.
Did you open a support ticket for that, or did you just email?
Yeah, we both opened a ticket, but they just told us that it was like done or something.
Interesting. I would probably reopen a ticket, to be honest with you, because that definitely sounds like a problem with the I mean, I understand. I mean, it's another process running side by side that could be interfering within Smite. So they're looking. My thought is that their system's looking at that as kind of like a it's almost like a cheat or a hack type of thing. Whereas you were saying, like, it's not. I would say, and from what Hi-Rez is, I think has told Blake and I multiple times when these types of situations is open a support ticket, and if you don't get the resolution you want, open another support ticket, and go from there. I mean, I'd like to help you with a resolution, so my recommendation is going to be open another support ticket. If you don't get the resolution you want, email me back on smitetalk@gmail.com, and I can probably put you in contact with someone directly from Hi-Rez, but I really don't want to do that until you get a support ticket, like another support ticket in, because I think that's a problem, and I think that should be fixed, and I think Hi-Rez is always looking to help out. What do you think, Blake?
Yeah, I would open another sport ticket. Like if there's always the chance of a false positive. Technology
Hmm.
evolves so quickly that
Yeah.
those engines can't keep up. So yeah, I would definitely send another sport ticket and keep poking and prodding.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you're in the
Oh,
wrong there if everything lines up. And if that's just an issue within the NVIDIA drivers where it includes that within the software or you're running that or whatever, I don't think you're in the wrong. But, you need to make sure we let Hi-Rez know and so
yeah.
they can fix that in a future release.
Oh, and one more thing.
Sure.
Okay.
What else you got? What else you got? So, you gotta love those. The best one I had was what does the fox say? That was the best one. That was the best. When that like first came out, that was like the popular one I got in raid call. But that's what you get with
Nice.
live shows, which is okay, no big deal. So let's go ahead and take a look at some more of our emails here. See what we get. Did I close that? I think I did. Dang it, I think I closed it. Let me open it back up real quick. Get that back up and running. Um, I can't say I've ever heard of that issue. Shadow play? I mean, I'm not familiar with it, but I don't think I've ever heard of that issue. But I could see that being an
I've
issue.
never streamed through it, so I don't personally know. I
Yeah.
just use OBS Godsend.
It was interesting. I read somewhere that I forget where I saw it. There was like a post or something on Reddit. I think it was on Reddit. Somebody had posted that someone from Hi-Rez had said something about how they hired someone to fix the in-game streaming to get that working properly within Twitch or within Smite. Did you read that as well or see that?
Yeah, I still won't use it. I got my Twitch Humir skin. Like
That's
I don't need
I
it.
understand. I'm just saying I'm glad that they have done that because it was a great idea in the first place. My understanding was that I don't work for Hi-Rez, but my understanding was they developed it. The guy and someone from Hi-Rez was working with them, and uh, they decided, or someone from Twitch was working with Hi-Rez on that, developed it, and then they had to go a different route, and so the project kind of fell off when it was like first getting introduced, and so that's why it kind of went from there. So let's look at some of our additional emails that we've gotten from you guys. You guys can email at smitetalk@gmail.com. I've been on the Smite scene for over a month now. Well, welcome. And I'm looking to up my game more. I feel like I have trouble adjusting to counter other players depending on the god they play. Do you have any suggestions to improve since Robot, there's your Robot there, Blake, along with the rest, isn't the best to learn to be against the most efficient? So what recommendations, Blake, do you have for this person emailing in about, taking their game to the next level?
So my recommendation, yeah. So what I do, and I think it helps me a lot, is I get one of my other friends. We go into a custom match and practice matchups
Hmm.
with varying item builds and varying types of pressure, and just getting more familiar with when you play a scenario over and over again, it's going to be different each time in
Yeah,
Smite. So, maybe, I don't know, playing that matchup in a casual but productive setting is never a bad thing. Like we, go into there and I think, we both usually come out of, doing it for an hour or two being like, all right, I learned something. I definitely improved in Smite today. Just making the active effort to, learn with somebody else,
sure.
is a godsend.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, for sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, with learning with counters, kind of, what we talked about on Smite Update a little bit, which is like metas and counters go side by side, and as items change, the same thing with God adjustments occur, counters change, and so keeping on top of them can be kind of difficult. It's for the common casual player like ourselves versus the competitive players, it can be quite difficult to keep on top of. But I feel like the best way to take your game to the next level and to get there is, I don't know if you're at ranked yet, but start to play ranked. You kind of talked about playing against the AIs and stuff like that. If you haven't moved past AI and moved on to casual, then I definitely recommend casual. And then after you feel super confident in casual, move to ranked. I feel like that's your next step after that. But outside of that, I think you're on the right track. And thanks for emailing in with your question there. I think it's a good point.
One
Um,
thing,
Go for it.
like that next step after getting really comfortable is memorizing your enemy's cooldowns.
Yeah, that's a big one. So you know when to engage and when not to
You know
engage.
exactly when you can engage. Like that's something that I think a lot of people kind of fail to do is memorizing your enemy's cooldowns and kind of memorizing scaling. Like base damages is also good. Like, I don't when you look at these pros and they go in a lot of the time, you know that they have that calculated in the back of their head going, I can win this engagement. This is on cooldown for X amount of seconds. This is going to do X amount of damage to me. Like you're doing a lot of calculations in your head, and that's, I guess, kind of high level tactics, but the earlier you start practicing memorizing cooldowns, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point. Kind of like what we talked about with Habwa. Knowing his cooldowns, when he pops that three, you have that very small window to capitalize on it before he melts you again. So that's a good point. That's a good point for sure. We got an email from Glenn. He says he might be new to Smite or to the game. He's talking about Kabrakan, but he is here now. And my question is, what do you think if I say that when a bit he's a bit hard. I'm trying to read it. It looks like it was a little off there. A bit hard with trying to it's a bit hard to try to balance him and compare him to other guardians. He is kind of useless, and he doesn't have Geb's shield or freeze like Ymir or stun or pull like Athena. So, throwing over to you, Blake. Thoughts on Kabrakan right now, being this first week introduced into the game? There's that delay. Blake's like, okay, I'm gonna wait and see.
Sorry, I was responding to somebody in Twitch chat.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So Kabrakan, I don't like him.
Okay.
I haven't played a ton of him, but I don't know, man. He just something doesn't feel right about his kit. His ult seems incredibly lackluster. His three, like, what do? You build Gem of Isolation, you build hella tanky, and then you just sit there and hope your team picks everybody off while you're trying to, suck them towards you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his one is kind of awkward to hit because it's not his normal attack animation after he
Yeah.
procs this one for the stun. So I feel like I'm just chasing somebody while holding down left mouse, going, like, please, please, please.
Yeah.
And his two is whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, he just doesn't click with me. Like, I've yet to really find the perfect item combination or engage combination with Kabrakan. Like, when I have a Kabrakan on my team right now, I just feel like, well, we have a Guardian, but
Kinda.
we really don't have initiation, if that makes any sense. Like, if I had Blink Geb ults or Blink Geb 2s, like, I'd be all for it. But Kabrakan, what do you have, like, Blink 3s? Blink 1s? I don't know, man.
Yeah, if I was to comment on Kabrakan, I only played him once, to be honest with you. I've watched a decent amount of streams with him, but when I look at Kabrakan, I feel like when you look at his ultimate, it very much reminds me of the Ymir wall, except it's curved. Okay, no big deal. The problem is it's his ultimate, and so I feel like when you're looking at ultimates in the game, especially on the last variety of gods that have come out over the last 6 months, it's nothing outstanding. Yeah, he can punch through his wall. Okay, great, but it's curved. Outside of that, it's like, okay. So my thoughts on Kabrakan. His third ability with doing damage, I feel needs to be supplemented out for something that is more CC based in order for him to be kind of under that category of Guardian. As well as I'd like to see his ultimate doubled in size, if not tripled in size. Because if it's his ultimate, it needs to be badass. We'll be honest. It needs to be something that is, very effective in team fights. I feel like when you're laning and you have the ultimate, if you get close enough, because you remember with his ultimate, like, you have to be right on top of the person really to get that wall off properly with Kabrakan's ultimate. And when you're looking at Guardians for team fights, you want something that it can affect a large area of the lane and that you can get multiple people involved in, like Ymir's ultimate or Geb's ultimate. I mean, oh my gosh. So when I'm looking at Kabrakan, it's just like, it's kind of like this little like nook, like this little like, it's just not ultimate worthy to me. I think the mechanic and the ideas are great, but it's not out there for me. It's not doing it for me. His 1 and 2, they could work. I mean, they could kind of work, but I mean, I love the 3. I love like popping the 4, popping the 3, or chasing some people down in a team fight and using the 3. But if the 3 is going to be the excitement of Cabrakan, like it's got to do more damage. But then in that case, I feel like I'm moving more towards a warrior. So Cabrakan, I feel like needs some work. I just don't know where. Like that's my opinion, but I don't know if it's solid at this point. What do you think, Blake? Your eyes got big when I said I want to see his ultimate 2 to 3 times the size if it's going to be an effective team fight mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, his whole. I just feel like it's kind of lackluster. Like, take Cupid for example. You trap a Cupid, he auto attacks once, breaks the wall, dashes away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, woo, what an ult. You know, like I've tried ulting and then getting in there to 3 right away, and still not a lot of great results. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm just not a big Kraken fan, I guess.
Yeah. No,
I'm sure somebody will find something secretly OP about him, and he'll become amazing, and we'll all love and praise.
Blake Cabrakan, go!
Yeah, like something will happen. I'm just waiting for it. I'm not the meta breaker here.
That's right. That's right. So let's go ahead. We'll take another caller here. Sensei will bring in here Sensei Freedom in just a second. We also have some more emails to go over as well, and some more people on deck. Don't forget, when you guys jump into raid call, I'll send you an IM just to go ahead and make sure that your audio is set up, make sure your mic is set up and configured, and then also make sure that your speaker device is set up as well. The worst is when we bring somebody in and then they don't have any of their audio set up. So we say hello and no one's there. So make sure that's set up, guys. That's why I'm asking you. So let's bring in Sensei Freedom. Welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. So what do you want to talk about today? You still with us? Did you forget to hit the push to talk button? I heard him. See? I know. He's like, I'm doing pretty good. Oh, and then he leaves raid call. He must have got like, some people get nervous. They do it. Some people get nervous to talk to us, Blake. I don't understand why. So let's go ahead. We'll take another email here while we wait for hopefully for him to come back. We'll see what happens there. So this comes to us from Jimmy. Jimmy, thank you for the email. He says, hey, Octane, I wanted to talk about Xbalanque and Cupid. We're just commenting on Cupid. 2 of the only ADCs that don't have lane clear. If they made Xbalanque's 3 hit harder to clear at least the back lane minions, it would be much better for him. As for Cupid, I would say instead of 1 exploding and hitting 1 row of minions, I would play him more if it could hit all 6 minions, not just 3. Kind of commenting, kind of like that mechanic of Rom, for example, I guess, with like going through all the minions. What are your thoughts, Blake, I guess, on Cupid and Xbalanque? Do they need to be able to have lane clear? Or do you think the attack speed, getting your attack speed up on Cupid or Xbalanque does the trick? What do you think?
I mean, they're definitely outclassed when you look at other ADCs as far as lane clear is concerned. I mean, if if you clear a wave using Xbalanque's 3, you've used your only escape other than the movement speed increase from your ult. So you just wait until he 3s the wave and then gank.
Yeah.
Cupid, I mean, he has no wave clear. He has a heal, a dash, and like the heart bomb. So like, I guess you would want to see the heart bomb go through minions and still keep the same mechanic of sticking on people. And if you did that, like, he's top tier pick, and then right?
Yeah. I mean, I think
if you can do that through minions, like GG, he becomes the most broken ADC, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, when I see Cupid playing, when he is played, I feel like once he hits like mid game, that attack speed is at a good point. Like he just goes bing 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 done type of deal. Using no mana at all, just your attack speed. With the auto attack. So I don't really see an issue there for Cupid. I mean, I know Cupid is not played as often as some of the other gods within the ADC role, but I don't necessarily feel like everyone needs to have a lane clear. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Do you think everyone needs a lane clear in the ADC role, or do you think it's not necessary?
I mean, I think people have become accustomed to it having lane clear because the top ADCs do have a ton of lane clear and viable escapes as well. So if you want to see them, played on a competitive level with all of the other ADCs, then yes. I don't think it's necessary though. I mean, that instantly means that every ADC that's ever released is going to have one ability that lane clears. That's kind of lame. Like, You know, you don't really get a lot of variety in that. You know, I think it should have pros and cons. Like, you know, maybe high single target burst potential through an ability versus a high wave clear and pushing potential. You know,
Yeah.
everybody should have their own niche roles, and you should make it to where like you have a good amount of variety in the AD carry scene.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. Good point for sure. So let's bring Sensei Freedom back in. His raid call crashed. Let's bring him back in. Sensei Freedom, welcome back. You doing a little better now?
Yes, can you hear me? My mic wasn't working a second ago.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. You're good. You
Okay,
haven't
sounds
you haven't crashed yet. You haven't crashed. So what would you like to
That's
talk
good,
about?
that's good.
What do you want to talk about today?
So my one and only question really is shop build for assassin.
Okay.
What I usually go for there is a sorry, I'm a little sick.
That's okay. Take your time.
I usually go for penetration, lifesteal, and cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good build there for assassin, or is there a better one?
Sure, sure. Blake, I'll throw it to you first. And I guess my question before I throw it to Blake is, Sensei Freedom, what assassin do you like to play the most of?
I usually either like Bastet or
Okay.
Loki. Those are my two favorites.
Good choices there. I always enjoy Bastet. She's come a long way, and Loki's always enjoyable if you can play it the most there. And then, do you play Conquest the most, or what are you playing here?
Mostly Joust.
Joust, okay. 1v1,
right
right up Blake's alley. So, Blake, what are your thoughts on those gods in 1v1 from what you've seen, Loki or Bastet, and what seems to have been potent from what you found?
So on Loki, I would probably forego lifesteal. Just because you're wanting burst assassination potential, you don't really care for any kind of sustain. Even in your dueling potential, like if you're going to duel somebody, say over a buff control 1v1, you're still going to want to burst them down rather than like out auto attack them. Cooldown reduction, yeah, definitely on Loki, not a bad idea at all. But yeah, I would kind of forego lifesteal. I've had a lot of success with Malice on Loki. That extra bleed damage on top of the bleed, kind of, it can be useful sometimes. But it's probably kind of situational. Bastet, I usually prioritize taking blue on Bastet whenever I can, because her mana costs are ridiculously high. So I'm usually looking at something like Boots, CDR from Jotun's Wrath, and then kind of going into a little bit of a tankier build for Bastet since her damage ratios are pretty high. Especially kind of, early game and mid game where she really shines. Like Bastet falls off late game to me compared to some of the other assassins, but if you can get her fed, it kind of carries her pretty well. So that CDR and extra mana that you're going to get really helps kind of propel you, I guess, into keeping up a constant state of harass on your enemies in the Joust setting. But I mean, I don't play a ton of assassins, so I would take that with a grain of PJ salt.
I mean, I think I can comment
yeah,
more
I
on.
mainly play mages.
I can comment more on Bastet over Loki. My understanding, with playing Bastet, I find Bastet leading a little bit more towards physical power and penetration, I think, which are huge for Bastet, especially earlier on, do very well. And then moving more towards crit as you start to move more in your item progression. And you can get that, variety, with Rage or whatever you decide to go with. But not as much lifesteal, to be honest with you, on Bastet, just from my experience with playing with Bastet. I see a lot more success in the physical power and the penetration early on, and then a little bit more crit later on. So hopefully that helped you out a little bit.
And then I have one comment on something Blake said there.
Sure, go for it. Correct them or something.
Well, it's not really a correction. It's just a.
Okay.
He says that his favorite is mages. That's Raw is my best character for sure.
Okay.
He's definitely the one I do the best with. And, yeah. So just a quick comment there.
Right on.
Who is your best mage, Blake? Say Anubis. Say Anubis.
No, it's not. Man, I get so much flack for saying my main is Hebo.
Yeah. Poseidon or Agni. You couldn't even say those. You had to go. Oh, it's okay. That's okay.
I liked Poseidon before. I used to rush Polynomicon second item on Poseidon and then troll with Blink Kraken, Blink 3 Kraken. And it was amazing, but Polynomicon being nerfed into the ground, like I've kind of fallen away from, playing certain gods like Poseidon and Alquang who kind of were great with Polynomicon. But Hebo will always hold a special place in my heart.
Good
Yeah,
deal.
that's how I am.
Sensei
That's how I
Freedom,
am
you got
as well.
anything else to talk about or any other questions?
I just want to say one thing. It's my first time listening to your show, and I'm really enjoying it, guys. You're doing a good job.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Make sure you guys call back. Make sure you call back next week.
Yeah.
All right, good deal. Well, let's go on. We'll take another email here. We have some other callers waiting in line, so we'll go ahead and get them in very shortly. Next email here is from Devil Boy. He says, I've always had concerns about several gods I used to play that could have been considered overpowered at the time, but now, no matter how well you start or get endgame, other gods in the match will sooner or later outpower you, based on what seems particular gods. Best example I could bring up is Guan Yu matches, being able to beat enemy players fight to fight till we get to level 20 with full builds, and then you're outplayed. So what are your thoughts on that, Blake, on his comments there on just gods at one point seemed overpowered for this guy, and now once he gets to late game, doesn't seem to work out for him?
I mean, Guan Yu kind of got nerfed in the ground, right?
Who?
He used to be, he was played tons and prioritized tons at the launch tournament, and then boom, done. Like he was no more. I don't know. I mean, you're gonna have that though. Like in different warriors and different gods in general, like you're gonna have power spikes, and there are some gods that fare better, all the way until the late game, and then it's like, wow, I'm completely useless. GG. And that's just kind of when if you realize if you're playing one of those gods that you need to end early rather than later. And I think I don't know, like I kind of troll with Guan Yu and Odin now. Like I don't really build them as much as tanky as much as I do crit movement speed. It's dumb powerful. Try it one day.
I guess some of my comments to that email is that you have to remember, late game, certain gods are almost like they kind of power up and they build up towards late game. Like Kronos, for example. Kronos, I feel like late game is amazing. If you can wait it out and play smart, Kronos is very good late game. Artemis, I feel like auto attack melts late game. So I feel like when you're looking at late game, like doesn't matter if you're a guardian or not, Artemis is going to walk up to you and melt you, regardless of how much how much physical protection you have and stuff like that. So late game is a completely different monster than like early and mid game. Early being your lane phases, and mid game kind of being more as your team fights start to occur around like that 10 to 13 minute mark, a little bit more. Sometimes earlier depending on the aggression of the team, but late game is a completely different monster. So when you're selecting your god, I would say select your gods based on late game the best you can. Because if you're playing someone like Guan Yu who kind of falls off late game, it's not as much fun and can be kind of frustrating. So that's just my 2 cents. Hopefully that answered some of your question there. Any last comments there, Blake, before we bring in Mr. Saurus?
My 2 cents is play something other than Guan Yu.
Okay, good point. Very good point. All right. Hello, mister. How's it going? Welcome to Smite Talk. Are you there? Are you there, sir?
Yes, hi.
Hey! So what do you want to talk about today, or what questions do you have?
I want to talk a little bit about the report system.
Okay,
first.
Go for it. Go for it.
I had a lot of bad games kind of last time where people were extremely salty and started flaming and stuff, and the only thing you can really do about this is report them at the end, but I don't feel it really does anything to them. Like they will still just do this again in the next game. What do you think about that?
I'll throw it to you first, Blake. If Blake can still hear us, he's like waiting for a delay. He's like, Okay, I'll take it first. So report system. You were asking about just a report system.
Yep, I was waiting for it.
That's all right.
Okay.
That's all right.
Go
The
for
report. His question was geared more towards the report system and just how he feels that when he reports someone after a game where they are rude or salty or harassing, that nothing's really done for it. There's no benefit there. A while back, we talked on, is there a Smite Talk or Smite Update, one of the shows, about the karma system in the game and how we would, myself and, F. and I think FG had even commented on it, about the fact that we would love to see within the game a karma system that actually has some really good results to it, where at the end of a game, it gives you the option to give away karma in regards to, Blake is a great team player or very good communication or whatever, and you give them karma, and then karma adds up, and then you can use that to buy skins and stuff like that or whatever. Or you could say, hey, you can give negative karma to someone. And granted, there needs to be some guidelines around it, but negative karma towards this person in order to say, hey, this person was not a team player, was salty, was rude, harassing, blah, blah, blah. So that if you get so much negative karma, they ban your account for a day or something like that. So that people don't have a reason to get into a game and just be an asshole. Like, which people do that. People feed off of that and enjoy that type of stuff. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. And I feel like Hi-Rez could implement something. Could be that. Could be something completely different. But that allows us as players to not just hit report and then... we don't really see what happens behind the scenes with those reports. We don't get a message back that says, this user was reported, they had X amount of reports, they have been banned. Thank you for your feedback. We don't get that back. And I would love to see, even if we don't have a karma system, to get something back when it comes back to reports that says, thank you for submitting this. This person has had X amount of incidents. They have been banned for a day, a week, or, total time. Blake, what are your thoughts on the reporting system and how we could possibly improve it? And now we wait to see. Apparently Blake's having audio issues. Blake.
Hey, I can hear you again.
Thoughts on I don't know why it's cutting out for you. Thoughts on the current,
I don't know,
thoughts
dude.
on the current reporting system and how it could improve.
I think what it boils down to is people just want to feel like, they're getting justice for being badmouthed or having, whatever happened to them. And 9 times out of 10, I see people just saying, well, just, take that system for Dota 2, where you get a little pop-up when you log in that says, one of the players you recently reported has had action taken against them. Thanks for making the community a better place.
Yeah.
And I mean, something as simple as that, like, people
Yeah.
would be in awe. They'd just be like, yes, that scumbag, yes, They'd be super happy. The karma system's kind of taking it a step forward.
Yeah.
As you said, there'd have to be guidelines because,
Yeah, definitely.
you just queue with 5 of your friends, karma, and look, I can buy a new skin now. So a lot of guidelines there. I think, we could see more transparency between kind of the player relations team and what happens to those, or maybe have somebody, the player support lead, kind of do an AMA or kind of walk us through like what happens when something is reported. What do we look at? Let's take an example from this chat log and extrapolate why this person was banned, how many people, like that transparency. I think people would be really happy to see something like that. And I don't know if we'll ever see something like that. That's one thing I've always really liked about Riot, is they're generally really transparent with how they ban people. Granted, they're kind of in the process of overhauling their entire, player support kind of role, I guess. But the lead guy is always publishing articles on how experiments they do on their community have negatively or positively impacted player change over a certain amount of time or a certain amount of case numbers.
Sure.
So, I don't know if we're really at that point of a player base of only like 1 or 2 million to really have a need for a department that is entirely devoted to player behavior. But a simple fix would be just to kind of patch something in where it'd be like, that scumbag you reported got, banned for a day. Here's some cake. Enjoy.
Here's some cake, right?
That'd be a nice Band-Aid, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good discussion that would love to hear more from Hi-Rez, to be honest with you, about that topic. I think it's a good topic, and I think it's constantly an issue with a free-to-play game where and then on top of the free-to-play portion, the autonomy behind, playing video games, where if there's no consequence for what you're doing, You know what I mean? Type of deal. So I'd like to hear more. I think that's something that Hi-Rez battles a lot. And I'd love to hear kind of how they're combating it and what their plans are for the future. Any other questions or topics you want to talk about?
Yeah, one thing, I was at Gamescom,
Okay.
and also I was at the Smite booth and I played Smite there.
Nice.
And I talked with the people that run the booth there, and I he was also a little bit disappointed. Like Hi-Rez didn't really do anything there. I was also a little bit disappointed because the only thing that was there was basically a stand to play Smite, and then we got the convention skin, and that's pretty much about it. But nothing more. I feel like it was one of the weakest stands there, and it kind of disappointed me a little bit. Like,
What else could they have done, I guess, in your eyes to make it more appealing? Not that
well,
I'm not second questioning it. I'm just saying, hey, like what were you looking for?
Well, if I look like at some other games, like not comparing it to something like WoW, I don't expect like a big show, but at least I don't know something a little bit. Like they didn't even introduce the game. Like some people didn't know anything about the game. Just yeah, sit down, play a little bit, and then go. Like nothing explained, nothing
So
happens to promote the game in any
what were
way.
some of the other games doing? Like did they hold like I've never been to Gamescom, so I don't know like how that works. Were they holding like panels and stuff like that, or what else was done by like other games? I mean, excuse me, outside of doing a tournament, which I think they've done it at Gamescom before in the past. Outside of a tournament, what else was going on?
Well, yeah, some games like had I don't know trailers running and stuff like that, and having explained a little bit the game. Like for me, it's not the big issue because I already knew the game. So, but my brother
Uh huh.
didn't know anything about it and was kind of lost a little bit there.
Okay.
So
Any
I felt
in
like this was.
Sure. Any insight, Blake, that you have because you've been to quite a few events and stuff like that?
Um, I mean, I didn't go to Gamescom and I wasn't really involved with anything like that. I mean, I guess it would have been nice. I know that that was mainly, just kind of a business meeting. I think only the higher ups went to Gamescom and, they announced Smite on the Xbox and kind of their
Yep.
partnership there. And that was really all that was at Gamescom as far as I'm aware. I know that in November there will be another tournament up there. For the regional whatever, it's failing my mind right now, but they've already announced that the next tournament coming up there, so I think that's more. I mean, I agree, if you're going to be somewhere you might as well be there and do it right.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's basically it. I just want to say that I really enjoyed the show, and yeah, you guys rock.
Well, thank you. You have a good night. So let's go ahead here. See what we got here. All right, we have another email here that we'll take, and then we'll be closing out the show here in a little bit, guys. Email here comes from. I apologize if I'm butchering your name. Let's see, Gula me. We'll go with that. Oh, it says apple pie at the bottom. Much easier. That must be your handle. I have had a lot of games recently where I get matched up with non-level 30 players. I have been level 30 since beta, and it gets really annoying when you play with people who don't know what they're doing. When I myself are a very competitive player. Thoughts on that? Any comments to that, Blake?
If you're a very competitive player and you don't want to get matched up with non-level 30s,
Play ranked.
play ranked. That's like the easy suggestion, right? It's like
Yeah.
you won't get anybody below level 30. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, matchmaking is matchmaking. It's better every
Matchmaking.
day.
Yeah, well, matchmaking
As you
comes
get
down.
more and more people, it gets easier to make matchmaking
Yep.
better. But until that point, like GG, well played.
Yeah, matchmaking, as Hi-Rez Chris commented on Smite Update a few weeks back, really comes down to the population that's available within that queue. So when you're queuing, really comes down to it. So if you're queuing in weird off hours, they just want to get you a match. So they want to make sure you're actually playing. Hi-Rez has commented a few times as over the next few months, we're going to be, the queue is going to go away, and they're removing timed queues. Queues are staying, I'm sorry, but timed queues are going away. So you go ahead, you click Conquest Casual, you click there, and it could be a 2-second wait, it could be 10 minutes. but they feel the population is getting to a point where that the matchmaking is going to get a little bit better. And as the population grows, you're going to have less and less of that. And you have to remember, like, I don't know where in the equation or the algorithm your level comes into comes into consideration versus your elo level. Even in my understanding is even in casual games, you still have a hidden matchmaking value or matchmaking rating, MMR or ELO as people like to call it, and so that's still considered where that runs side by side. So that plays a factor as well. Ranked does a little bit better job, my understanding, with getting you into some of those games. You're not really seeing people playing ranked unless they're level 30. So if you are having issues playing with people that are not level 30, join ranked. You're automatically going to be playing with people that are level 30. Granted, just because you're level 30 doesn't mean that you know how to play the game or the gods that you're given, but you have a little bit better chance being level 30, having 12 gods mastered, that you might do a little bit better. So just my 2 cents. Any last comments for that email there, Blake?
Get your masteries while you can.
That's a good point. Let's go ahead and bring on Natsu. Natsu, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
Yo.
Yo, what do you want to talk about today?
Yes, I have a question regarding. I have a support ticket that's been in a couple days,
Okay.
and I've sent in multiple ones on multiple email accounts regarding compromised account,
Okay.
and I've been trying to raise awareness for someone to take a look at it. I even got
Okay.
50 upvotes on a Reddit post, just trying to get someone's attention,
Sure.
just to try to get it fixed before anything else, happens to it.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you have an account that was compromised and you're trying to get it corrected. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you heard back from Hi-Rez at all on your
Not
ticket?
at all, and it's been a couple days and no reply at all on any of the things I've commented on.
Sure, I can imagine. My recommendation there is I'd say give it up to a week. I think that's enough time. I don't know how large their their QA
Support team is.
Yeah, support team or QA. I know it sounds like from just the other caller that we got that could always use. It sounds like they could use a little extra help in that direction. It sounds like a few extra bodies, but outside of that, I would say give it a week to be honest. And after a week, if you still haven't heard anything, I don't mind extending an arm and helping in any way I can. Shoot me email, smitetalk@gmail.com, and mention that we talked about it, and I'll do my best to kind of point you in the right direction. If there's somebody that I can message that at Hi-Rez. Right now, I mean, you did what you needed to. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 people from Hi-Rez that are in chat right now. So maybe somebody can jump on that and help you out. If not, I can try to help out in any way I can. Anything else you want to talk about today?
No, that's about it, and I greatly appreciate it.
No problem. You have a good day.
You too.
Always nice talking to Southern people. You can always tell with that Southern accent there.
You know I'm Southern, right?
Yeah, kinda. You don't have an accent like that, though. That guy sounds like he's got his boots on, his plaid shirt, and his cowboy hat.
I don't know. I've been told when I talk to my family I have an accent, but other than that, I lived in Tennessee for 21 years, and I didn't really walk away with an accent. So
when I go down, one of my old companies I used to work for was based directly out of in Georgia, Greensville. I think it's called Greensville or something like that. I can't recall. It was like over 5 years ago when I first got out of college. It was like 8 years ago. Wow. Anyways, they oh my gosh, their accent is super strong. And my company has a location in Southern Virginia, Wakefield, Virginia. And oh my word, they got people that are like, and you're like, what are you saying? So your accent, Blake, is not bad. Just gonna put it out there. A last email here that we are taking for today comes to us from Michael. And he says, with the recent Nuwa and Zeus reworks, so that was about 2 patches ago, I was thinking about how Hades has a classic skin. I was wondering if other gods could get classic skins and possibly voiceovers like Nuwa's case. What do you think, Blake?
it'd be cool. It's probably not out of the realm of possibility. Like the model's already there.
Yeah.
so it wouldn't be too hard to reintroduce it back into the game. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I guess you would have to, since all the abilities did change on Nuwa, it would have to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But probably not terribly hard to introduce. So maybe we'll see it in the future.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, we at one point I spoke with Hi-Rez Chris about the fact of, oh, it'd be cool to play the old Guan Yu and stuff like that, and he's like, it's not really possible implementing like the old Guan Yu and type of stuff like into like a nostalgia game mode of the day type of deal. He just says it's just so much work. So I can understand that point of view, especially like old game modes and stuff like that, but. What would be cool to see is the skins, and I think they could possibly work with that because we've seen some of that, happen there. So I think it's a good idea. I think it'd be kind of fun, to be able to see some of those old skins. It was funny. I was looking at some of my older YouTube videos when I first started getting into commentating, back when you would have games like Root versus Curse and stuff like that on my YouTube channel, and like looking at the game then versus the game now, like. I see why Hi-Rez has made so many changes to the Conquest map, and they're even talking about making more changes to the Conquest map if you kept up to date with some of that stuff. So the game, graphically wise, looks so much better, and the skins are just, oh my word, definitely out there. So guys, I think it's gonna go ahead. What do you got, Blake?
Oh, I was gonna say, like, if you ever get a chance, turn your graphic settings all the way up and go look at the Hoonbot Space Monkey skin.
Yeah.
It is absolutely glorious in all of that, like, high resolution, very high detail. Like, it has got to be one of the most detailed, best put together skins in the game. Like, it looks so good. Just, like, do it. Just go, crank everything up. Space Monkey Hoonbots, and take a look at it compared to some of the other skins. Like it is absolutely glorious.
That's a good point.
And that's when that skin was introduced. That's when I knew the art department was getting real.
Well, it was interesting because there was some time going back, maybe like a year ago, when which Hi-Rez even now, if you go on like their careers page, they have so many designers they're looking for. They're always looking for more like designers and stuff like that, and it was interesting because like they're still looking for so many, but about a year ago, like all of a sudden, like Hi-Rez kicked it into overdrive when it came down to skins and map remodeling. I think that was the time that like Tencent came on board, and maybe it was just some of the perspective that Tencent gave and great recommendations, regardless. But we really saw an overhaul of a lot of the game modes and the skins and reworks and stuff like that when it came down to the god design. So a lot of cool stuff going on there. So, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and end the show here, just under an hour. Those of you guys not familiar, Blake is one of the esports tournament admins who has stepped in this week. Usually you see my wonderful co-host FG3000 in, but he's not available this week or next. It's not really a paid position, guys, so, vacations and things come up, which is completely understandable. But with that being said, we appreciate Blake coming on. You guys, once again, can check out the show on iTunes. The audio version is available. Also, the video version is available on YouTube, youtube.com/the Smite Update. Go over there, check it out, subscribe, and make sure you guys do enjoy the show. Audio version is always fun, especially when you're on the go with work and everything like that. But before we go, Blake, where can people follow you and stay up to date with you, especially being an esports admin? And now we wait for the delay.
Delay's caught up. Yeah, let's do this. For those just tuning in /out, my name's Blake W. I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/MBlakeW. I'm on Twitter, twitter.com/MBlakeW. And I also create YouTube content, youtube.com/MBlakeWGame. I do esports administration for Hi-Rez Studios, specifically concerning the North American region. I've been working for them for about 2 years now. It's quite a bit of fun. And yeah, man, thanks for having me on. If you need me to fill in, just let me know.
Well, thanks, man. Once again, Hi-Rez Studios, we appreciate them allowing us to put Smite Talk on their channel. This airs every Sunday around 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. This may shift with kind of the Challenger series starting here next week with this SPL and all the changes coming to the stream schedule. I think there's a lot of big stuff coming with the stream schedule next week. So the time may shift a little bit over the next few weeks until we can get it down so I can start telling you guys the exact time. So shout outs to Hi-Rez for allowing us to put this on their channel. Once again, this show airs every week on twitch.tv/SmiteGame. And folks, I appreciate you guys coming out. We will see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.